Stagnation is readily apparent in parts of rural Oklahoma. While Oklahoma City and Tulsa grow, other areas of the state are struggling. That's why State Representative Tom Newell has introduced a measure he hopes will encourage people from other states to move to rural Oklahoma. House Bill 1747 would create so-called rural opportunity zones in 25 counties, projected by the Department of Commerce to lose population over the next 60 years. People moving into those counties from out of state would be exempted from paying state income tax for 5 years. Newell borrowed the idea from Oklahoma's northern neighbor.
Kansas adopted rural opportunity zones a few years ago. It's been so successful there that they've expanded it each year. In fact, just this year in his State of the State address, the governor actually even talked about moving it from not just rural areas to looking at a couple of the urban areas that were kind of blighted.
He believes the same idea could work in Oklahoma's rural counties.
Most of them are counties that border Texas, which has no income tax, or they border Kansas, and many of those counties in Kansas that border us are rural opportunity zones. And so our economic development people in our rural counties are at a disadvantage when they're trying to compete with Texas, maybe right across the border, or Kansas right across the border.
David Myers is the executive director of the Ponca City Development Authority in Kay County, which borders Kansas. Myers believes the Kansas program does give that state an edge in attracting young professionals.
If you've got a county like Sedgwick or more specifically a Cowley or a Sumner County in Kansas, which is right next to ours, which has an advantage over ours, people will choose to go there instead of here. That's just human nature.
That sentiment is echoed by Lyle Rogo, president of the Duncan Area Economic Development Foundation in southwest Oklahoma.
We need as many different tools as we possibly can have at our disposal, because it's just not one community in Oklahoma competing with another community. It's a global market that we have to compete in, and we've got to also compete with other states.
It's unclear how effective the tax would be in competing with those other states. Rogo believes Oklahoma still has some advantages over Texas.
You know, while there is maybe no personal income tax, their property tax is about 3 times higher than what Oklahoma's property tax is. So they're going to get it out of you one way or the other.
Another factor affecting migration is housing.
It's difficult to get home builders to recognize that there is a potential market for them. And when people come to areas like this and they don't find the housing options, or more specifically, the newest house they can find is 50 years old, that becomes a real problem for them, and they tend to gravitate towards areas where they have more housing choices.
Also uncertain is how much the tax exemption would cost the state. Newell insists state revenue won't be affected.
The people living outside of the state now are not paying any taxes. And so if this will actually bring them into the state, then they go from paying no taxes at all to the state to now they're paying sales tax both the state level and the local level, as well as ad valorem tax. So there's really not an economic impact as it relates to costing Oklahoma money.
According to a fiscal analysis of the bill by House staff, data is not available as to the number of people that migrate based on point of origin or county. As such, it is difficult to estimate the fiscal impact of exempting this income. It is believed this measure will have an unknown negative fiscal impact for tax year 2016. Newell admits he doesn't expect a lot of people to migrate to rural Oklahoma as a result of this bill, but insists the numbers are not important.
Well, if you have one doctor that comes and keeps the hospital afloat, if you have one small ag processor that maybe it's just him, it's a family-owned thing, and so his family moves here, but they employ 3 or 4 people in the community to work at that place, then you don't have to have a lot of numbers to actually make an impact in these rural counties.
Several House members, including Speaker Jeff Hickman, have signed on as co-authors of the measure, which has already passed the House. The bill is now awaiting action by the state Senate.